Okay, I am standing and looking at the brand new 2024 Toyota Grand Highlander, and in front of that is the chief engineer of the Grand Highlander, also the Highlander and the Sienna, Craig Payne. Craig, thank you so much for taking the time.
Yeah, happy to be here. Thanks for joining us this evening.
So, this is, generally speaking, a Toyota Highlander. It has the same basic shape. It is a crossover SUV, but this is significantly larger than the standard Highlander.
We look at this as a unique vehicle than the current Highlander. It is a 4-inch longer wheelbase and roughly 6 inches longer in overall length compared to the current Highlander. This offers significantly more third row space than the current Highlander.
But it is in fact a crossover SUV. It is not a body-on-frame such as the Toyota Sequoia, is that correct?
That is absolutely correct. It is a unibody vehicle, different than Sequoia, Tacoma, or Tundra.
And is it smaller than the Sequoia? Does it slot itself in between the standard Highlander and the Sequoia?
This vehicle is perfectly positioned in Toyota's lineup. It's in between the Highlander and the Sequoia, the Sequoia is a totally different market, looking at towing and off-road capability. The current Highlander is focused on a little bit different demographic than this vehicle. This vehicle is family focused. It is focused on overall comfort for each one of the rows and passengers in this vehicle.
Now, 3 rows, the third row is significantly more usable than the standard Highlander. I think I heard the measurement 6 more inches of legroom, is that correct?
That's correct. Between the overall couple distance has improved by roughly 6 inches, and we're able to gain that improvement by increasing the wheelbase, and we've also changed the suspension to allow for that increased cargo and passenger space.
So, in your expert opinion as chief engineer, would you put adults in that third row and expect them to still be friends with you afterwards?
I would absolutely put adults in the third row, and they would be comfortable on a short trip or a long trip.
Wow. Now, this, I would imagine, varies based on the number of trims, but I imagine you could seat up to 8 in the new Grand Highlander?
There are variations where you can have a 7-passenger or an 8-passenger. And those grades from XLE, Limited, and Platinum are also complemented by 3 different powertrains. We have a 2.5-liter hybrid engine powertrain, we have a 2.4 turbo powertrain, and we also have the brand new for Highlander lineup in the Grand Highlander, the Hybrid Max powertrain, which is a combination of a 2.4-liter turbo engine and a hybrid power.
And if I'm correct, I believe we first saw that in the all-new Toyota Crown, is that?
It's a very similar engine, tuned specifically for the Grand Highlander that you'll see in the Crown or RX.
Now, it's very fascinating that we have such a large physical footprint SUV and yet only 4-cylinder power. What were the decisions behind going with 3 different powertrain options, all of them 4-cylinder based?
Each one of those options offer the customer the ability to do what they need. The 2.5-liter hybrid offers fuel economy similar to what we have in our other vehicles like the Sienna or the current generation Highlander. The 2.4 turbo offers a complement to the previous 2GR or V6 engine, and the 2.4-liter turbo or hybrid max engine offers that performance-based engine. It has 360 horsepower and 400 foot-pounds of torque, so it has that ability to offer some performance.
Yeah, and those are certainly healthy numbers. Now, you mentioned having a different suspension. I imagine we're talking about the rear suspension mainly. Is it still an independent suspension? Is it still a multi-link suspension?
It is a multi-link suspension that has been redesigned to offer more comfort and cargo space for the occupant.
Is it still independent, 4-wheel independent?
Still independent.
Okay, and what has changed between the Highlander and the Grand Highlander suspension to help me get a better understanding of how that changed?
Yeah, so the multi-link suspension for this vehicle is actually completely different than the Highlander. It's been redesigned. We changed some of the arm shapes to allow better packaging for the rear suspension, and also it allows some of our side members it goes around some of the side members that we have in our vehicle to allow for better packaging, allow for the floor to be lowered, allows for better packaging in the occupant in the rear seat. For example, the heel-hip position is different in the rear seat compared to the Highlander. We're at about 300 millimeters or so for that rear occupant in the hip position position. It allows a more natural seating position. We're also able to offer more headroom because of that seat. We're able to offer about 2 inches more in headroom compared to the Highlander. So again, we're looking at that overall comfort and stability from a dynamic standpoint.
And that headroom is critical to keep those adult friends happy back there.
That's right.
Now, you said that you consider this a separate vehicle from the Highlander. I would imagine, though, that ultimately the platform that it's based on is from the same core platform as the Highlander, or is this different?
The platform in itself is a combination of our TNGA platform. We've built the Highlander and the Sienna off of that similar platform, and that's part of Toyota's new global architecture. It gives us a foundation and some fundamentals for engine placement and the suspension, and we're able to capitalize and adjust based on our needs for this Grand Highlander.
Now, we've talked a little bit about the 3 different engines. Why did you guys decide to have 3 different engine offerings? It seems like 2 would have been plenty.
Each one of the combinations are different for each one of our customers. We know that some customers are looking for fuel economy, and so we offered that for them. We know some customers want that 2.4 turbo or that different price point compared to the hybrid, and we know some customers are looking for that really super performance base, which is the Hybrid Max.
And it does seem like that's the first thing I thought, is it does offer you guys the ability to offer a wider range of prices for this car.
That's right. That's right.
You're talking about engines. Can we talk at all about the transmissions and also the drivetrains attached to these engines? Is it different transmission for each one of the hybrid systems as well?
There are 2 different transmissions for our hybrid system. The Hybrid Max has a 6AT transmission. The 2.5 liter hybrid also has a CVT, but it's a little bit different makeup than the current Hybrid Max powertrain.
Okay, and what about drivetrain? Are we going to have front wheel and all-wheel drive versions, or is this all-wheel drive?
There are variants offered in a front-wheel drive and an all-wheel drive. It depends on which grade and which engine combination you're going to get, but there are available front-wheel drive and all-wheel drive options.
And I imagine the front-wheel drive is going to offer you the best possible fuel economy.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, where does this car, in Toyota's mind, line up in terms of competition? This doesn't quite look like a Tahoe or a Expedition competitor, but at the same time, it doesn't quite seem like a Honda Pilot competitor either. Where do you see it?
We look at this as other kind of mid-size SUVs. We look at the Kia Telluride or Hyundai Palisade in that range, so or the Volkswagen Atlas. Those are the size vehicles we're comparing against. But we're also here to offer an alternative for our customers, for those customers who are family focused or want the ability to carry adults or older children in the vehicles, and who don't want that, who still have some reservations against a minivan. So we're offering alternatives. So people who don't have that focus on the Sequoia, they feel that vehicle's a little bit too big, they don't need the towing capability that's offered on the Sequoia, or they want a little bit more cargo space than what's offered on the Highlander. So this is a perfect market for us.
Absolutely. Now, one thing that stood out to me in the Sequoia was its very impressive towing numbers, but then on the opposite side, I was a little bit underwhelmed by its cargo capacity. When the seats were folded, it was quite a bit behind Chevrolet Tahoe. Does this have a lot of cargo capacity built into it?
This was a primary focus for us. So if you think about taking that trip to the airport or across town or visiting family and friends, you can carry up to 7 carry-on type style suitcases in the cargo area. So comparative to the Sequoia, there's a little bit different flexibility in that aspect.
And I imagine that the third and second row do fold flat, and that offers quite a bit more cargo ultimately.
The third row does fold flat, and you can also move the second row to offer a little bit more flexibility.
I see. And can you give us any more information on when we should expect to see the Highlander get to dealers?
This vehicle is expected to hit production sometime this summer in 2023.
And this will be a 2024 model year?
That is correct.
Yeah, okay. Well, Craig, thank you so much for your time. Really interesting to learn some more details on this brand new Toyota Grand Highlander. It is a Highlander plus Grand. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for taking the time. Appreciate it.